We are the Clay Center Environmental Science team, and this is our oral presentation. Hello, my name is Aspen Gerard, and I am the superintendent at USD 350. I am here to share how the school and community have been affected. Although our school is not directly affected, we have been indirectly affected in a large way. Within our district, we have had many students, as well as their families, moving. Tensions among the staff members and students have been very high, and I have been called in to address the matter in our school district. In the community, we have seen a large divide amongst everyone. Our community has always been very strong, so this has changed the culture within our town. My hope is that we can find a solution and fast. Otherwise, this will only continue to divide our community as well as our school. You will be hearing from some of our community stakeholders. Ryan, a local farmer, a manager of the Quivira National Wildlife Refuge, the Secretary of the Department of Wildlife Parks and Tourism, and lastly, a Groundwater Management District board member, and their thoughts on this issue that is affecting our community greatly.
In areas that have irregular precipitation, irrigation improves crop growth and quality. By allowing farmers to grow crops on a consistent schedule, irrigation also creates more reliable food supplies. Hello, my name is Ryan Benfer, and I'm a fourth-generation farmer in South Central Kansas. My family has been pumping out of Rattlesnake Creek Basin since 1978. It is my strong belief that the needs of the farmer should supersede the needs of the refuge. While the refuge is just for wildlife, farmers need the water to produce food for the country and water for their livestock. Therefore, the current needs should be the main focus on water displacement. The most recently proposed LEMA plan was to limit the amount of water usage up to 40% in my community. This doesn't even come close to the amount of water I need to use to keep my farm running. Its failure was received to me and the farming community as a blessing. The next major issue I have is private property. Private property in the United States is guaranteed for protection under the Bill of Rights. This being my land and my capital that I've spent on irrigation, it should be protected. If my private property rights to the water, if I lose my private property rights to the water, not only will I suffer, the majority of the town and my community will also suffer. Farmers without the ability to water their crops and have increased yields will surely lose their farms to corporation outfits and virtually destroy the family farm. Once family farms are gone, the community will lose local funds as the money from the corporation outfits is shipped out of state. As farms suffer, then communities and state will eventually feel the impact. Water is the lifeblood of rural America, and to cut that off is to suffocate the will of the Americans and Midwestern agriculture as a whole.
Thank you, Ryan. I would like to introduce myself as Lane Musselman. I am the manager of the Quivira National Wildlife Refuge in South Central Kansas. It was established in 1955 and spans a range of 22,135 acres of land of unique salt marshes and sand prairies. These wetlands need constant replenishment from the Rattlesnake Creek Basin. The refuge is essential because of its location in the central United States for migratory birds. It is also very well known around the world. The refuge filed for their water rights in 1957. We are authorized to divert 14,632 acre-feet of water per year for our uses. This has not been the case in the recent years, however. According to the KDA Department of Water Resources, in the Rattlesnake Creek Basin, there are about 1,200 points of diversion that hold junior rights to the Quivira National Wildlife Refuge, and these are shown by all the red dots. There are only 90 that hold senior water rights, and these are the green stars. This means we are of high priority in the basin for our water. Lately, we have only been able to use about half of the water that we are authorized for. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have been researching water usage in the area since 1980 and filed an official complaint in 2013 with the Kansas Department of Agriculture. We have many important uses for our water year-round. Throughout the whole year, we use our water wherever needed to maintain the wetland habitat. Between February and June, we flood selected units to saturate soils used to produce food. From March to June, we dewater selected wetlands for the growth of desired plants used for wildlife cover and food. Then from April to November, we irrigate and gradually increase water levels to support the plants and wildlife. We need the most water between March and April, July and September, and October and November. All of these uses are essential to maintain the health of the refuge, and all of these statistics come from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. With decreased flow in the basin also comes decreased water quality in the creek, as higher levels of chloride are found in the water. And this was according to David Barfield, the Kansas Chief Engineer of Water. Without a solution, we may get to a point where the refuge has degraded too much for us to fix.
Thank you, Lane. I'm Morgan Siebold, and I'm the Secretary of the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks, and Tourism. It is my job to protect and provide for endangered species and all species throughout Kansas. I work to preserve the wildlife aspects of the state. We were given wildlife for free, and we should sustain it respectfully. On the left, that's a Quivira National Refuge and migratory season for waterfowl. On the right, we have the endangered whooping crane. From January to February, we need a winter habitat for waterfowl and bald eagles, which is a protected species in Kansas. Through late February and April, we have a waterfowl migration and endangered whooping crane migration. We need less than 15 inches of flooded wetland to provide that habitat. From April to June, we have a spring shorebird migration, and we need less than 6 inches of flooded habitat for them. From May to August, we have a breeding season for many birds. State endangered snowy plover, interior least tern, and other state species in need of conservation. Previously flooded wetlands throughout this time of the year will be used, and the irrigated areas will be used. There's no cold water during that season. From mid-July to October, we have a fall shorebird migration. We need less than 6 inches of flooded habitat. From October to December, we have a waterfowl migration and endangered whooping crane migration when they come back to the refuge. Less than 15 inches of flooded habitat for them. This is all according to the Kansas Department of Agriculture and Quivira's request to secure access to water. There are 4 national wildlife refuges in Kansas. The closest refuge is more than 100 miles away. I have birds that need this environment and habitats, not the type in northern Kansas. Each refuge has their own troubles. We are protecting endangered species at every single one. Water is the lifeblood of Quivira National Wildlife Refuge, and I stand to protect it.
My name is Shelby Siebold, and as a board member for the Groundwater Management District 5, I get to hear many cases similar to this. To please everyone in this case, I have looked into each person's concerns on this issue as well as the Kansas Water Rights Law. Like it has been briefly mentioned, the Kansas Water Rights Law has 2 levels. The highest level is the senior right, which is defined as the oldest priority date right. Water rights run with a first-in-time, first-in-right system. The Quivira Refuge has a senior water right to the farmers like Ryan around it. So with this scenario, we will take the following actions. For all junior rights that are newest, they will receive the highest percent of restriction. The restrictions will be less for the holders with the oldest rights. From August to the end of April, the restrictions will be varying from 25 to 30% for everyone depending on the age of their permit. From May to July, the restrictions will be 10 to 15%. This allows the refuge to be less impaired by junior water rights holders. But we must remember that senior water rights to the refuge cannot be restricted. With this plan being put in place, we will provide everyone with a source of water to a certain extent. The Quivira Wildlife Refuge will receive access to more water during their needed times. With this plan, farmers like Ryan will still be able to access the water just at a restricted level. This will ensure that the communities around the refuge will not be as severely affected.